Today is December 8th at 2 p.m. I decided to do a follow-up video to a video that I made on May 29th, 2008. That video was titled Saying What I Need to Say, and I feel I just watched it and wrote down all the things that I put on paper, and I guess I wanted to very intentionally kind of go through and address each of those things and talk a little bit about where I was then and where I'm at now, and kind of how I got here. So the very first one said that I am often scared, and I think it's interesting because I am still often scared. I'm scared of different things, and I respond to that fear differently. I am less scared, or I'm scared about different things now than I was then. I think at that time I was scared of living, I was scared of dying, I was scared of moving forward in my life, I was scared of staying stuck, I was scared of my own reflection, I was scared of the person who was inside, I was scared of that person being outside, I was scared of everything. Life was just scary, and I think that it's a really typical response to this really atypical experience that those of us that are trans go through. I don't think most of us are equipped with any sort of tools in our toolbox to deal with such a profound process of such a profound shift, you know. And so what am I scared of now? I'm scared of not living up to my potential. I'm scared of sometimes I'm scared for my physical safety. I'm scared of I'm still scared of being stuck. I'm scared of forgetting that as a human being I'm doing the very best that I can, and for the most part so is every other human being on this planet, and what that looks like is different for each person, and that I need not judge the journey or the path that someone else is on, but welcome them to whatever destination they arrive at with open arms. I talked about, I didn't talk, I don't want to say that, I was too scared to talk even. I held up a sign that says that I worry, and I do still worry, but again, I worry about different things. I worry less about other people's acceptance of me, and I worry more about continuing to develop my own sense of acceptance and my own sense of self that is far less dependent on external praise and much more dependent on internal understanding and internal sense of self, much more connected to my soul than I think I used to be. I held up a sign that said that I felt like I wasn't good enough, and I definitely still struggle with that. I struggle with understanding that there are situations and circumstances in my life experiences that I've had that directly feed into my fear of not being good enough, and addressing those makes me stronger and worry less and less scared, and me just being here, I don't have to do anything special or anything in particular to be worthy and deserving of love and kindness, and so as long as I remember that, then I put the voice of not being good enough out of business. I put up a sign saying that I would do almost anything to prevent others from hurting, even if that meant that I get hurt. And there's a huge difference in that area for my life. I'm no longer willing to sacrifice my own safety or sanity or sense of self to prevent or protect others from feeling their feelings. That part of understanding that we all hurt is trusting that everyone else is going to be okay, and that I don't need to take care of that. I don't need to manage that. I don't need to control that. I don't need to do anything other than tell my truth, be authentic, and be supportive to people. And preventing others from hurting, and if I get hurt, is also known as codependent. And would I have identified as such then? Do I identify as such now? No. But do I see the codependent nature of that statement? Absolutely. I think that I've learned a lot about not preventing other people from their own process, and sometimes other people's process is pain, just like my process. There was pain involved, and so I feel like I've moved significantly away from that space in my life. One of the things that I think it's interesting in all of my YouTube videos, I've mentioned very briefly in very indirect, passive ways that I am somebody who's recovered from an eating disorder. I have been recovered from an eating disorder for almost 2 years now, I believe. That's not to say that I haven't had moments of relapse over those 2 years, but those relapses weren't slippery slopes into full-blown illness. They were relapses and moments of realizing that something was not going well and I needed to address it. I've had people send me personal messages asking if they felt like my eating disorder was related to my transition, and in a million ways yes, and in a million ways no. And I'm not sure how to concisely talk about that in a way that doesn't turn into a 14-hour video, which I think everyone who knows me knows that I have the capacity to create. So my eating disorder was fueled by a deep-seated insecurity and a deep need to have some sense of direction and control and autonomy over my life in a way that I simply could not have if I didn't transition. I did not aspire, because my eating disorder developed and was most alive prior to my transition, and in the first 6 months or so of my transition, I didn't aspire, or I wasn't desiring to create this idealistic feminine body or identity. It was the only mechanism that I knew to have any sort of sense of control over my physical body, and it worked in some regard. I'm not gonna lie. I have no shame about that. But in the process of accomplishing these little tiny goals, I created a tremendous amount of unwelcomed chaos and trauma and all sorts of other stuff as a direct result, because using an eating disorder to deal with unprocessed transgender identity and feelings is like, trying to patch a gigantic crack in the foundation of a house with toothpaste. Some stuff is going to stick in there, but it's not going to weather the storm. It's not going to be enough, and you're using the wrong tool. So I feel that having an eating disorder was part of my process, part of my journey, and I accept that, and I've come to terms with that. And my eating disorder has brought a tremendous amount of insight into my life, much like my transition of being trans has. And it has brought some of the most incredible, wonderful, loving people into my world. So I will forever be grateful for that time and that experience, with zero desire to travel down that road again. I held up a sign saying that I used to cut myself. And the following one that I was a binge drinker, and I would say all three of those things were coping mechanisms to try to survive my life, to survive the circumstances that I was in and circumstances that I'd been in previous. Were they the best choices? I can't really say. There were choices that I made, and I'm really thankful that I no longer need to make those choices. I'm able to make different choices and make healthier choices, and choices that actually address the issue instead of create more symptoms. So I held up a sign saying that I sometimes think about driving off the road, but I never do. I still have kind of these weird thoughts about taking life right to the edge, and I have a fascination with that. I have a deep, deep fascination with the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco and people who jump off the bridge. And do I think that's suicidal ideation? I don't think that. I love my life, and I have no desire to not be here. It gets better. But do I have a desire to to push myself to that place, to consider, that line between life and death and how precious it is. Yeah, I think I'll always have a fascination with that. The next sign said that I love so much that it hurts. I would change that now to I love so much that I'm willing to get hurt. And I've really developed a capacity to love others and to be loved by others, and I didn't have that before. But that has been created by working on my own self-worth and my own self-acceptance, and I still falter here. I still struggle with intimacy in profound ways, and I'm working on it. But I do understand that it's not loving so much that it hurts. It's loving so much that I'm willing to be hurt, willing to lose the love. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot more. I know a lot more now than I did on May 29th, 2008 when I made that video, and I still have so much more to learn. So I'm welcoming to that process and that experience. I get out of bed every day and I take a shower every day, so that's not so much of an issue. I don't even consider staying in bed. I believe that I have positively changed the world, and I believe that I will continue to positively change the world. And I think that every living creature, thing, has the capacity to change the world. And we don't have to change the world in these really loud, over-the-top ways. We change the world by changing how we live in the world. And I do that in a variety of ways. So I'm just conscious of that. I am on my own map, and I do matter, and I've created relationships with people around me who are on their own maps too, and they matter to themselves, and so consequently we matter to each other, and we're on each other's maps. So I feel seen and understood most of the time. Sometimes I don't. I've come to appreciate and understand that that's a process, and we have to stay engaged in that process for every day for the rest of our lives. That it is not a passive experience, it's an active experience, and I'm committed to that experience. So if I were to do a video today of saying what I need to say, I probably wouldn't hold up signs. I would probably speak to you all, and the things that I would say are I would tell truth about some of these things that I mentioned in the previous video and that I've talked a little bit about today. And I remember about 6 or 7 years ago, someone asked me what I stood for, and I didn't know how to answer that. I didn't even really know what it meant. And today, I know exactly what I stand for, and I know exactly who I am, and I know exactly what kind of person I want to be and how to do that. And I'm living it and I'm doing it. So I just felt compelled to do a follow-up to that video, because I know that it's been viewed by many, and I think it's touched a lot of people. So I hope you all are well, and as always, I welcome comments and emails. You can email me at aidinkennedy@gmail.com. I have somehow decided that my Facebook page is just an extension of my email, so if you want to friend request me, I'll accept your friend request, and I'm always welcoming and love conversations. So hope you're all well. Bye.